Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we got soprano, alto, and tenor in this video. I'm going to help you to decide which one is best for you. Let's get to it. Here I have a straight soprano. Comes with two necks. Most of these new sopranos are going to come with either a straight neck or a slightly curved neck. They also make a curved soprano, and there's also some little oddities with soprano where the bell is a little turned up. But in this video, I'm just going to mainly focus on the differences between the straight and the curved. I do not have a curved yet. I might be getting one very soon, but let's focus on the straight here. In the saxophone family, we have four main saxophones: soprano, alto, tenor, and bari sax. Of those four, there's three that people gravitate toward more, which is soprano, alto, and tenor. So let's start with soprano. Soprano generally comes in two varieties: a straight one, very oboe or clarinet-like, and a curved one that is much more saxophone-like. There are some other ones like a saxello, which has a little turned up bell at the end, but the straight soprano usually comes with a straight neck or a slightly curved neck, where the curved soprano is going to come with just a curved neck, making it play like the alto and the tenor. No one really ever recommends that you start with soprano saxophones, except in this video, I'm going to tell you who I think is more ideal to do that. This instrument is generally considered to be the most difficult of the saxophones, of the four main saxophones anyway, to get started with. However, there's been a lot of advancement recently to really fix a lot of problems that are inherent with soprano saxophone. Now, if it's a young kid that wants to get started on saxophone, definitely do not recommend starting with soprano. In school, they're going to have problems even finding music that's written specifically for this instrument. And also, it's going to be unnecessarily difficult for that student to really key in on the problems that they're going to have. However, as an adult, if this instrument speaks to you, if you're a big fan of smooth jazz, or you just have the sound of this instrument in your ear, then I definitely recommend that you go where your ear leads you. It's very important to do that, because that's what's going to motivate you to stick with it and practice and get better at it. Soprano is usually less expensive than the other instruments, than alto, tenor, and definitely bari saxophone. The reeds are a little cheaper. The mouthpiece, the ligature, these types of accessories, they're usually a little bit cheaper when you get a soprano saxophone. However, usually when it comes to picking up a saxophone as a beginner, I recommend that you start in the $1,000 to $2,000 range, except when it comes to soprano. I definitely recommend that you start in the $1,500 to $2,500 range as a beginner. So that way you can eliminate a lot of the unnecessary problems that you're going to have with soprano saxophone. This one is definitely one of the more bargain-oriented ones. I paid $1,300 for this Alora professional saxophone, and in a lot of ways it plays much better than some of the most expensive soprano saxophones that I've tried and played over 36 years of being a saxophone player. I'm going to go over those right now. Okay. If you are looking to pick up a soprano saxophone, maybe you are already a saxophonist and you're looking to pick one of these up. The biggest issue that I've had with playing soprano saxophone is getting over the high G sharp. Not altissimo, just the high regular G sharp, because that's where the other octave mechanism kicks in. We call this a double octave mechanism. Technically, there's one octave key, and then there's a register key or a type of vent. Disrupts the pressure. It's all scientific. Don't worry about it. But finding a soprano saxophone that doesn't change the back pressure when you go over that has been, for me, the biggest issue. And you know what? Between professional saxophones and student model saxophones, there's no rhyme to reason in finding out what that's going to be like. So you just have to try them. Or even better, if you're beginning as a new saxophonist, as an adult, get someone to try it for you. Preferably not the person that's going to sell it to you, because they'll tell you anything to get you to buy it. But just get one of your buddies that can play the saxophone and then ask them how it feels around there and would they recommend an instrument like this as a beginner. Again, they generally will not recommend soprano to any type of beginner saxophone player. However, if you are a professional flute player, clarinet, you're coming from a double and you need to get soprano, these are the kind of things that you definitely want to watch out for, which is also why I recommend the $1,500 to $2,500 range for these instruments. Okay, so I'm going to play the same thing on soprano, alto, and tenor, so that way you guys can get a good idea for the difference between all of these instruments. Okay. There's your soprano. Here I have an alto saxophone, ladies and gentlemen. This is made by a company called Glory. I just did a video on how you can acquire this thing for $36. I'll post a link and you guys can check that out. This is the saxophone that almost every saxophonist starts out with. The old alto saxophone. It's about the right size for a young kid. The ergonomics of the instrument lay very well. There's a lot of music written for it. This is definitely the go-to saxophone for beginners of any age. You're all around your Ryu of saxophones. This instrument dominates in classical saxophone. If you think of soprano saxophone dominating in smooth jazz, this dominates in classical saxophone. Most of the stuff that you're going to find is definitely going to be written for this instrument. It is extraordinarily balanced. You don't have this weird type of resistance with soprano or lack of resistance like with the tenor with this instrument. Definitely a very nice option for someone who's looking to get started with a saxophone that doesn't really know what they want to play. If you have a kid and it's of a relatively large stature, then tenor might be more ergonomically friendly. Or if you're an adult and you want to get started with saxophone, again, first and foremost, go where your ear is telling you, but ergonomically, the tenor might be a little better for you. There's a lot of fantastic players out there who play alto saxophone. That may be one of your favorite players, and that is definitely something to take in mind. With that video that I have, this is definitely one of the things that I would advise you to stay away from are these super cheap saxophones that you find. They just gonna wind up costing you a lot more money than what they are worth in the short and the long run. But at least with alto saxophone in general, the accessories are going to be a little cheaper than on tenor saxophone, meaning reeds, mouthpieces, ligatures, etc. Okay, so like before, I'm going to play the same song with this thing and then with the other thing. So let's get to tenor. Here we have a tenor saxophone, ladies and gentlemen. This one is made by Cannonball. This is their Cannonball Vintage Reborn saxophone, ladies and gentlemen, with the dark amber lacquer. Tenor is definitely my main saxophone. That's where my ear leads me as far as like the saxophones go in terms of having a favorite. I very much do like soprano and alto and bari, and I will be getting a bari hopefully sometime this year, so stay tuned and you can get all of that. And by the way, for those of you who've been with me for a while, I do have my Altissimo book for tenor saxophone available as a digital purchase. I will post a link in the description below. The tenor, ladies and gentlemen, definitely excels in rock, pop, funk, very similar to alto, but I think that for an adult, they may generally tend toward the slightly larger instrument because of their ergonomics. And plus, I think that as you get older, that thing in your head just kind of settles to a lower pitch, and the voice of this instrument generally tends to speak to you better. Of the three, this one is definitely going to cost you the most in terms of its initial price and its accessories, meaning reeds, mouthpieces, ligatures, etc. When I switched from alto to tenor, because I started on alto, something in my brain just completely flipped. And I think if I hadn't switched from alto to tenor, I probably would not have majored in music in college. I probably would have just got a science degree or something like this. It had such a profound effect on how I heard music actually playing this thing for the first time. If this instrument speaks to you, then this one is, in my opinion, of the common saxophones, including bari sax, it's the oddball. It's the way the resistance is on this instrument that basically makes it feel so much more different. I think that's the real reason why so many people struggle when they come from the other saxophones to this one. It's like the resistance and the back pressure is just in a weirdly low resistant, unexpected place. Definitely having to do with this curve in the neck. It really just kind of looks a little different from the other saxophones regarding this neck. A lot of the stuff that I'm teaching, I primarily focus on tenor, but it's to get you around that resistance issue that is inherent within this instrument, especially playing altissimo and overtones and that type of thing. Okay, so let's play these things and then you guys can hear which one really speaks to you and you can decide for yourself. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comments below. Okay, let's get to it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. I'm going to do more stuff like this. Don't forget, you can pick up that Altissimo book as a digital purchase. I left the link in the description below. That's all I got for you. See ya!